Thank you, Madam Speaker. I rise today with great concern about the future of our country. And that's because in the past few days we've seen the valley between the hardworking middle class and the rich continue to grow wider and wider. It's a matter of priorities, Madam Speaker, and right now we can see very clearly where my colleagues on the other side of the aisle have placed their priorities. It's not in the well-being of our workforce, not in the effectiveness of our classrooms, not in the safety of our neighborhoods. No, Madam Speaker, the priorities of the majority party are not with the people who have worked hard all their lives to earn a decent wage, buy a decent home, put their kids through school, and do what they can to keep their families and communities strong. The priorities of my Republican colleagues lay with America's most successful, the hedge fund managers, Wall Street financiers, and investment bankers. That's why they worked so hard to give those folks another tax break at the end of last year under the guise of extending unemployment benefits for many people who lost jobs through no fault of their own. But my friends, you see, the rich didn't need another tax break. Not now, not when their taxes are the lowest they've been since 1950, and a tax cut that added $800 billion to our deficit over the next decade. In addition to that, as part of the Recovery Act, Congress enacted the largest tax cut in American history, and Democrats provided additional tax rebates for businesses that provide their employees with health insurance. Amidst these tremendous tax breaks for the past 2 years, the Republicans are moving forward with a dangerous spending bill, one that continues to give rewards to the rich and literally guts the initiatives most meaningful to middle-class families. Simply put, the Republican spending bill is irresponsible and tone-deaf to the needs of a healing nation. It cuts jobs, threatens American innovation, and diminishes investments in rebuilding America. It makes devastating cuts to education, reducing Pell Grants by $800 per student and kicking more than 200,000 children out of Head Start. It reduces the competitiveness of our workforce by slashing $1.6 billion in job training and cutting $120 million in alternative youth training that sends kids to work in construction and other trades. Critical skills that will help us make things again in America and put us on better footing to compete with the rest of the world. It derails $2.5 billion in funding for high-speed trains, canceling 76 projects in 40 states, and the loss of 25,000 jobs focused on rebuilding America. And at the same time reduces our domestic security by eliminating 1,330 police officers and 2,400 firefighters, making our communities less safe. The work of reducing our deficit and controlling spending will be hard, to be sure. The fact of the matter is that we have to cut spending, but we have to do it responsibly. We cannot cut what makes us competitive and what helps us to innovate, to succeed in the global economy, and ultimately to create jobs. The President's budget makes some serious cuts to good programs. Some I strongly object to. But as we work to cut spending, we have to be sure that it's not at the expense of continuing to support initiatives that create jobs, educate our children, and keep our communities safe. We have to be serious and smart about how we address America's budget challenges. This week, we will begin debate here in this chamber on this budget challenge. I've heard from many of my constituents about the concerns that they have related to the federal budget for this year. It's those conversations and the families I've met all across Rhode Island during the course of my campaign that I've got on my mind. I know what their priorities are. I've seen the circumstances, and I understand the challenges that their families are facing. My friends, we owe it to the hardworking people of our country who want to get by and who are playing by the rules, but just waiting for someone to stand up for them rather than the rich guy on Wall Street. We owe it to America's hardworking people to have a serious and thoughtful debate in the hopes of producing a smart and sensible budget for our country. My friends, our colleagues on the other side of the aisle have become captive to an extremist agenda that harms people who are already hurting the most. That's why it's critical we ask our Republican friends, just what are your priorities? Do we have the courage to come together, not as Democrats or Republicans, but as Americans, and invest in our country's greatest asset, our people, the people who built this great nation and who we must believe in, now more than ever, to move our country forward to a prosperous and promising future? I yield back the balance of my time.